Folks, this mess could have been avoided. I'll get into that and then the latest home prices and insights for York Region for week ending January the 8th, 2025. I'm going to talk to you about the situation this lady's gotten herself into that we've been speaking with. We see this situation often, and she's allowed me to share it with you here. She's a young professional. She has a very high-paying job, but it's also a very stressful job. And she has taken basically a step back from her full responsibilities. She's done this with the support of her bosses. She's spoken to them that, she'd like to take a lesser role for a little bit of time. And they've agreed and they value her work. So they said, no problem, take the time you need, take a lesser role. Naturally, that comes with a lesser pay, but she's okay with that. And they told her job is there whenever she's ready again. So that's what she's done. And during this time, even before that, actually, she's off and on casually been looking to buy a property. So she's on this lesser role, and one of her family members, something's come up where they need to sell their home. And they discussed it, her and the family member, and she sees buying that family member's home as a good opportunity for her. So she goes to the bank, she goes to get qualified for a mortgage, and she doesn't qualify. And it's because of the lesser role that she's taken, which again comes with a lesser pay. She no longer qualifies to buy at the price point that she qualified in the past for. So she's looking at this and she speaks to her dad about this. And she speaks to the dad and says, basically, Dad, look, I can make the payments. It's a bit of a struggle, but I can make the mortgage payments, but I need some help qualifying. Will you co-sign? Now, the father has his own sets of responsibilities and financial obligations, and he's okay co-signing, but they have an agreement between them that the father's really not helping with the mortgage payments. And that was the plan. And so he co-signs, qualifies, they buy the house. After a short period of time, she starts to struggle. She starts to see the mortgage payments really becoming more of a burden. But she's also feeling better at work and decides, well, you know what? Let me now get back to my regular role, my regular responsibilities. I will get my pay back to where it used to be, and everything will be fine. So she goes to her work, speaks to her bosses, and they say, we need a bit more time to get you back into that role. It no longer exists, or they've put somebody else there, or something happened where she can't actually right away resume that role. And some time goes by and she's struggling, and the work is basically now where they originally said, yeah, it'll be there when you're ready. It's just not happening. She's struggling. And I've been talking with the family about, the father really is not in a position to help out financially, although he co-signed. And she's struggling, and she's not able to get back her pay that she was getting before. The takeaway from this is the situation she finds herself in, or now I guess the family finds themselves in because the father's involved. We see this often. There's two main takeaways I'd really like for you to think about. If you're co-signing, no matter what the intentions are and the agreements are between the parties, yeah, I'll co-sign, but you're going to make all the payment, whatever the case may be. Understand, if you're co-signing, it is a very, very real option that you may be called upon to pay. The whole idea of co-signing is that your income is now helping the main person who's applying qualify. Even if you've got no intentions of making monthly payments, you may be called upon to fulfill those payments. So understand that you are on the hook and responsible for those payments, even if you're not making them. So your responsibility is always there that you may be called upon financially to assist. So that's a real situation if you're a cosigner. The other takeaway from this that we see all too often, people get themselves into a mess, or they get themselves in trouble when they make big financial decision today based on some future event happening. It might be a struggle now, but when this happens, it'll be easy for me to afford this. And that's what this lady did. She thought, yeah, I'd be struggling now, but once I take back my regular job, this will be easy. And she's correct, but the future event never happened. And that's where we see a lot of people getting themselves into trouble. They make decisions, big financial decision today based on a future event, and that future event just doesn't really happen. So that's the takeaway today. If you think this video can help somebody please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we go, folks. York region. We're going to start off looking at a bit of historical data. I've got the monthly numbers for York region. Now, this is for all of York region. In our regular program, which is going to be right after this, we focus strictly on Vaughan, Richmond Hill, and Markham. But these numbers are for all of York region, for detached properties only. I've got the monthly numbers. The last full month is December 2024, and I go all the way back to December 2020. The sales and average prices are highlighted in black. So let's look at the sales. 324 detached properties were sold this past December across York region. The previous year, 307. The previous year before that, 287. It's not so far off. Where sales for these last couple of years, we're actually doing a little bit better right now in sales this past December. But if we go back to December 2021, 556 were sold of detached properties. Today, this past December, 324. So sales are actually lower from December 21, but a little bit higher from December 22 and December 23. Let's look at average prices for December 2024. The average sold price for detached properties across York region was $1,644,000. It's basically the same a year ago for December 2023. It's basically the same. It's rounded to 0% for December 2022, where we see a change. We've got to go all the way back to December 2021. We're actually 9.6% lower, say 10% lower than where we were December 2021, where the average price was $1,817,000. And if you recall, that's when we saw the aggressive appreciation in home prices to where we peaked at just under $2 million. $1,992,000 was peak pricing for detached properties across York region. But we've got to go all the way back. If we compare to December 2020, we're actually higher by almost 22% higher December 2020 prices. And if we, again, go back to peak pricing to where we are now, depending on which peak pricing you take, around the 1.9 to 2 million mark, we're basically around 17% lower from peak pricing when we look at December pricing right now. So, this is what's happening. So the last, we'll say 2 years, overall, average prices have not changed that much across York region. Months of inventory, there is a big difference. December 2024, months of inventory sitting at 4.5, and they've been in the balanced market range between 3 and 5 months of inventory consistently for most of last year. However, December 2023, months of inventory was 2.9. So there is a big difference there. We see more inventory on the market, which is really contributing to a higher months of inventory. We're going to get into our regular program now. Broken down weekly for week ending January the 8th. We're going to focus on detached properties for Vaughan, Richmond Hill, and Markham. So we're going to start off with Vaughan for week ending January the 8th. 8 detached properties were sold. And before I go on, I just want to say, it's the first full week of January, coming out of the holiday season. I don't want these numbers. I would urge you not to take them too serious as indicative of where the market is. Just because when there's only 8 sold, the sampling of sales, the average sold price can be affected up or down very easily. So just be careful about taking these numbers as, yeah, this is where we are. It's where we are, but it's not a true representation of where the market is about to be as we get into more of a buying and selling cycle. So week ending January the 8th, 8 detached properties were sold. Average price is $1,595,000. 1,595 is 8% lower than where we were this time last year. If we look at if we look at average prices, 2023 versus 2024, average price, and this is for the whole year, average price is down by $16,000. It's basically down by 1% if we compare all of 2023 average price versus 2024 average price. We're down 1% across York Region for detached properties only. The median price is up 5% year over year. Sales, we said there is 8 sold. 38% of those is not that many sold at list price or more. But if we look at sales of detached properties across York Region, 2023 versus 2024, we only sold 9 fewer detached properties across York Region. That's a 0.1% decrease in the amount of sales. So sales is basically the same one year to the next. Average price, we just showed that it's down by 1%. 38 were listed, so we've seen a jump in listings from 8 listed to 38 listed, and months of inventory sitting at 7.2 months of inventory. Here's Richmond Hill. 7 detached properties were sold. Average sold price is $1,546,000. 1,546 is 4% lower year over year. The median price is 3% higher. 7 were sold. 29% sold at list price or more. Listings went up from 7 to 35 listings, and months of inventory is sitting at 8.1. Remember what I said, first week of January. We're looking at the numbers, but not understanding that that's not really a true representation yet. Here's Markham. 12 detached properties were sold. 2 of those were at $2 million or more. Average sold price is $1,672,000. 1,672 is 4% lower than where the average price was the same week a year ago. The median price is 9% lower. 12 were sold. A quarter of those sold at list price or more. Listings went from 11 to 45, and months of inventory sitting at 4 months of inventory. Here's a quick summary of months of inventory. What we're seeing here is balanced market. We're seeing here buyer's market. And you know what? That's pretty indicative generally of where the market actually was before we went into the holiday season. It's probably where we're going to be over the next few weeks, but this is where we're sitting at right now. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.